Hi, thank you for choosing to view this Early Years Engage webinar. This information was first presented at the May 31st, 2018 Early Learning and Childcare Forum. My name is Debbie Jones. I am the Supervisor of Quality Initiatives at the Region of Waterloo Children's Services. During this webinar, I will be sharing the components of Early Years Engage 2, some of the changes and updates, as well as providing some site visit evaluation information. The agenda for this webinar includes the Early Years Engage Portfolio Year 2, changes and updates, Year 1 Site Visit Final Feedback Summary, and Year 2 Site Visit Processes. To begin, I want to draw your attention to the Early Years Engage Year 2 2018-2019 Portfolio Contents page. This is a two-page document that has all the pages in order for the portfolio to guide you through updating it with our Year 2 information. This information was provided to you in a dark blue recharge folder, many of which were handed out at the May 31st forum. The rest of you would have received those through us after that meeting. This list includes all the document names and phone numbers and document numbers, any changes or key information or important instructions, just at a glance so that it helps you to know what might be the changes that you want to look more fulsome at. All of the new documents were placed inside the folder, and so please only remove the old documents that are being replaced when updating your portfolio. The Year 2 portfolio contents, we're going to do a walkthrough of all these documents and highlight any key changes and provide important instructions. This webinar can be used at a staff meeting in order to inform them of the changes for Year 2. People can also use this webinar to learn more on their own. And we will now walk through the updates through the following slides. The first page in the portfolio is the preface. There have been no changes made to the contents of the preface, and we have just updated all of our documents to be AODA compliant, so the Association of Ontario Disabilities Act. These forms are all compliant, so they can go on our webpage and be read by readers. And they have also all the documents that are pertinent to the frontline staff have been translated to French for our Francophone programs. So Phase 2 is currently underway. The staff training and development policy has not changed and reminds us that all managers and supervisors have specific requirements for all staff to allow time to meet and review their personal CPL goals, to support opportunities for continuous professional learning, and to support knowledge transfer within their programs. When we look at continuous professional learning information, this document has also not changed, and it is a reminder that all professionals working with the system partner organization must engage in continuous professional learning, and this policy speaks to the importance of continuous professional learning for everyone. The focus of this policy, though, is also mainly for non-registered early childhood educators. Registered early childhood educators will have their own information for CPL captured through the requirements of the College of Early Childhood Educators. This professional learning plan is the form that we provided as a tool for you to use for non-RECEs. But I want to also share with you that many registered early childhood educators like to use it as well to support their continuous professional learning documentation for the college. The Professional Learning Reflection Tool has not changed its look or content except for how we've changed it to be electronic and the document is much more user-friendly that way. If you have copies of last year's reflection tool, you can continue to use those hard copies, and you can create more of those if you like. But this electronic document can now be emailed directly to staff so they can access it when they need it. And it's also available on the Children's Services Quality Improvement page under the Year 2 documents. The program annual planning and site visit information has been revised to update any of the changes that have happened between Year 1 and Year 2. We learned several things throughout our site visits last year and are beginning to implement some of those changes into it. So it is really important for you to review this program annual planning and site visit document before too long. Any of the changes that were designed have already started to happen, and you may have seen those when you received your documents for this year's site visit request forms and confirmation documentation. The completed Year 1 2017 annual planning template is due for submission on September 30th. This is when you will complete the whole document that you had last year, where you submitted your goals for us in the fall. And the accomplishments and challenges form that we also have sent out to everyone to use so far are also due by September 30th, and we'll talk more about that in a bit. But this is the new document for the program annual planning template for continuous quality improvement, and it has been changed from the form that was on legal paper, and it has been changed to 8.5 by 11 electronic expandable documents, boxes and stuff where you can put as much information as you need into the document and easily upload and download this to the Children's Services Portal or to email to me if you have questions. Only Part 1 for 4 goals will be due uploaded to the portal by September 30th under the Early Years Engaged section. Completion of this document is in compliance with the Region of Waterloo Service Agreement. The goal planning and setting process must include all staff, management, boards of directors, and owners. Only one vision selection can be made with the radial buttons at a time. Part C is the detailed work plan, and we have multiple lines that allow separation of key activities and to help you align the persons responsible with the timeline of the activities. This document, when you get to the last box on the right-hand side at the bottom of the chart, you hit Tab on your computer and you can keep adding lines as you need them. So you can make this chart as large as you need for each goal that you're working on. And D is a place for you to list what supports and resources are required to achieve this goal. Part 2, the mid-cycle reflection as an organization, will be done likely in the middle of the winter, sometime halfway between this year. And Part 3, end-of-year cycle review, will happen likely next summer, where you can look at what did you accomplish, what were your challenges, how did this goal impact your children and families, and what were any other impacts that happened. In addition, for Part 4, you can consider any planning that you're doing for the next cycle. If you didn't fully achieve what you wanted to through this goal, you can carry it over to your next year. Goal number 4 is a reminder of you that it's the system-wide parent survey where you will choose one item to address from the child care survey program report that you have recently received from the region. You can click on the date completed, and a calendar will drop down so you can choose the date from there. You will add your goal into there and again select where it aligns and work your detailed work plan for that as well. The next couple slides are just a sample of how one could complete the annual planning template for continuous quality improvement. There's a place for your program name. The date will show up as it looks on the document right now. And then you have a place to write what you want to accomplish and why. Part B allows you to choose where this goal aligns best with our vision for quality, Notice that the radial buttons only allow you to choose one. So if you were at Human Resources here, but you changed your mind and said, I think it was more under Governance, you would click Governance and Human Resources would be deselected. Here's an example of your detailed work plan, and this whole sample is available on the Region's website as well. But this is just to give you a little bit of a guidance about how one could go about completing the detailed work plan. Notice that we've numbered the activities this year, because when we go to the next page, we will see that we can add what supports and resources are required to achieve the goal and align them with the appropriate number of the item in the work plan list. So when this document is completed, it'll be submitted through the Children's Services Portal, which is new this year to us in Early Years Engage, and I'm going to walk you through that process now. Current portal users are going to recognize, I'm sure, this screenshot. So programs using the Children's Services Portal already have a link, a user's name, and password. If you require support using the portal, please send an email to chsadmin@regionofwaterloo.ca or call 519-575-4400 extension 3610. The Early Years Engage forms will be available here by the red arrow for downloading. The documents can also be found on Children's Services Quality Improvement page, and the link is shown at the bottom of the screen. The Year 2 tab is where you will find the actual documents, and you can select Program Annual Planning Template, save it to your computer, and use the specific naming convention that I'm going to review next. So you will upload the forms once they're completed, exactly where you upload your current documents that you would submit to Business Admin. When you're uploading files to the Children's Services Portal, it's important that you use a naming convention for the file so that the file can be easily identified by the Early Years Engage EYE staff. Many of you are familiar with the same practice of naming documents for our business office. Here's an example. The naming convention for uploading to Children's Services Portal would be to always use EYE at the beginning, Early Years Engage. Just EYE, the operator name, the document name that you're uploading, and the date that it's submitted. So an example is for Martha Friendly Childcare Center submitting their program annual planning template on September 30th, 2018. The file name would be EYE, Martha Friendly Childcare Program Annual Planning Template, September 30th, 2018. Note that there are dashes in between, underscores in between each of the words, because it's important that you do not use spaces when you name a file, because it causes problems with file uploading. I'd like to turn our attention now to the Accomplishments and Challenges form that I mentioned earlier for all professionals for 2018-2019. We had such success with this document last year that we would like to do it again, and we had some learnings that we also found out when we did this document. So this year we are wanting only each individual person to do their Accomplishments and Challenges forms on their own, so that we can count the statistics much clearer and keep the data much cleaner. So there are still two forms. There is one for all professionals that the staff would use, and there's one for management as well. Using these documents before you set your goals for your organization can be very helpful. We've also added some of the highlights of last year's information to the document. So the new form has the same kind of questions we asked before: what did you accomplish and how, and what challenges did you experience? And we also identified the most identified accomplishments from 2017 and the most identified challenges from 2017. These are in no particular order, but they are the top things that rose through the analysis. So we want to make sure that all staff have an opportunity to hear and see what was said overall in our system last year. We also have another document for the management that I was explaining, and we're asking each staff to complete this and collect and submit via email, mail, or drop off to Quality Initiatives by September 30th. The supervisor manager document is very similar, but does have the outcomes are just, although some of them are similar to what happened with staff, there is some different context. And so I encourage you to share those with staff and to read them over. In year one, we presented this Planning for Quality model, which was the Early Years Engaged portfolio. This model was promoted at the February 2017 launch as a continuous cycle with 4 basic steps: assess, plan, do, and review. And we invited programs to use this tool last year. The following slides are going to show the plain language revisions that were made and the integration of the program annual planning program template guidelines with this planning tool. So the assess, plan, do cycle now looks much simpler. And we really, at the center of this is children and families and their quality of life. So change and progress is viewed as a continuous cycle with 4 basic steps: the assess, plan, do, review. And the annual planning template is a tool that supports early learning and childcare programs to move through this cycle of continuous quality improvement. Layered onto this cycle are the pieces that we need for the program annual planning. The first one in the red, assess, is where your goal setting takes place. If you look after planning, you will see that the activities are there to support your goals. The do, implement the plan, is where the timelines fit as well. And fourth, we're looking at review, the impacts. So did we succeed? What were the impacts? What have we learned? And then you'll see that there are a couple extra arrows here. Data reporting and analysis will take place, and sometimes that will go out to the region of Waterloo and be sent back into the circle, the planning cycle, and measuring and monitoring impacts to the system, the program, and the individual. And that will give us that reflective piece that we need. It's our hope that this model will be a bit more helpful when planning, problem solving, or working through issues that arise in your program. Looking at early years engaged site visits from year one, I want to share some of the feedback that we received. Site visit feedback for 2017. We had 59 responses out of 114 surveys that were sent out. In general, how was your experience with your site visit or group meeting? 58 said good or very good. When asked, is the appreciative inquiry narrative form a useful tool for drawing out input from all staff? 43 said yes, 1 said no, and 15 were unsure. And finally, did all staff engage in the development of the annual planning template tool? 53 said yes, 4 said no, and 2 said they were unsure. Feedback surveys were sent to programs once we completed their site visit, right up until December 31st, 2017. Some of the comments that were made through this survey were include time for staff to speak about the program. Supervisors can arrange to step in for them. It's a non-stressful experience. A lot of good ideas were learned along the way. And look upon this as a valuable tool that allows the region to see our accomplishments and challenges. So just a little run through of what happens at a site visit. Children's Services will visit each head office. Visits will be booked in advance between September and June. And it's anticipated that the visit will be approximately 3 hours in length and divided into 3 parts. So again, we would have a tour of the program, see the changes if we've been to your program before. Some of the programs we will be seeing for the first time as we see only samplings of some of the larger organizations each year. Part 2 would be meeting with the program supervisors, manager, owner, or anyone you want to invite to that meeting. Your resource consultants are welcome as well. And we would then have Part 3, which would be a review of the program annual planning template. Site visit booking process is already underway. It started in June, and Leah sent out each program a site visit request form. Programs are asked to return the completed forms to QI, and then the site visits will be booked, hopefully by the end of July. We're getting very close to having most of them booked. And the site visits will take place from September until June. Should you have any further questions about Early Years Engaged, please feel free to contact me, Debbie Jones. And also we will have a new person replacing Leah for a year while Leah goes out to do a one-list program for a year. So Caitlin Osborne will also be someone who can help you this year, and she will be beginning on August 7th. Thank you so much for listening to the webinar. Goodbye.